It's December 2011, and Christian Bale is at the height of his fame. He is fresh off an Oscar win and starring in the highest-grossing trilogy of all time. He is filming in Beijing when he decides to take an 8-hour drive to a small farming village to meet a man he has come to admire. He knows it will be dangerous. As he approaches the man's home, a dozen thugs appear. They push him, punch him, and throw him to the ground. Bale is forced to run for his life. Later, when he is asked why he went, Bale says something surprising.
What I really wanted to do was shake the man's hand and say thank you, and tell him what an inspiration he is.
Who is this man? What made him so important that one of Hollywood's biggest stars would risk his life just to shake his hand? In that same small farming village 40 years earlier, a family works the fields all day. Their baby comes down with a high fever, but they can't afford medical care. The fever takes the baby's sight at 5 months old, but he survives. This is how Chen Guangcheng's story begins. In 1980s China, blind children disappear from view, kept at home, hidden from society. Few are given access to education. Most are forced to earn money by becoming fortune tellers on the streets. But young Chen refuses to let his disability define his future. Against all odds, he fights for an education. Chen's father sits with him for hours, reading history stories that open his son's eyes to injustice. But in rural China, there are no law books in Braille. So Chen makes his brothers read law books to him over and over until he memorizes every word. In China, then as now, the Communist Party rules with no opposition. No other political parties exist. No courts can challenge their decisions. They write the laws, but when party officials break them, no one can stop them. Chen would soon become aware of the injustice of this system. In his early 20s, Chen learns of a blind neighbor denied his basic welfare rights. For the first time, he sees how his own struggles can help others. His disability becomes his strength. Now armed with a deep knowledge of Chinese law, Chen begins his fight for justice. Word spreads through farming villages in the early 2000s. Farmers whisper about a blind man who knows the law and wins. They come to Chen with stories of illegal taxes and stolen land rights. The blind lawyer begins gathering evidence against corrupt Communist Party officials. His success makes him dangerous. One day, a woman comes to Chen with a story that changes everything. She recalls how she was dragged from her home and forced to abort her baby. Days later, another woman tells him the same thing. Chen begins going door to door, collecting stories about forced abortions and sterilizations. What he uncovers will shock the world and put him on a collision course with the Chinese Communist Party. Chen learns that in the quiet villages of Shandong province, families live in fear. Government agents break down doors at night, dragging pregnant women to nearby clinics. Women in their 9th month are forced to watch as their babies are killed with lethal injections to the skull. Tiny bodies are thrown into pits outside. Women who try to flee are hunted down. Their families are tortured until they reveal hiding places. Officials track every woman's menstrual cycle. Being a few days late means immediate examination. Those caught face forced sterilization. The lucky ones face crippling fines, more money than they'll earn in 10 years. Chen's investigation reveals a horror beyond imagination. In just 6 months of 2005, in his hometown alone, 130,000 women face forced abortions or sterilization. The party punishes anyone who tries to help them. 600,000 family members are beaten, arrested, or tortured. For months, Chen builds his case. He collects statements from victims. He documents every broken law. Then, he takes his boldest step yet. Determined to bring justice to the victims, he files a lawsuit demanding money. But there's a problem. In China, judges work for the Communist Party. The same party officials who ordered the forced abortions control the courts. They quickly shut down Chen's case. With the courts closed to him, Chen turns to Chinese journalists for help. But the Communist Party controls the press too. No newspaper dares report on the one-child policy. Chen refuses to give up. He will find a way to tell the world. The party knows they must stop him. With no other options, Chen reaches out to foreign reporters. The Washington Post breaks his story. CNN broadcasts the truth to the world. In Washington, Kurt Campbell watches with concern. As America's top Asia diplomat, he has spent years delicately balancing U.S.-China relations. Any wrong move could destroy decades of diplomatic work. But the brutality Chen has exposed haunts him. The Chinese Communist Party now faces its worst nightmare: global exposure of its darkest secret. Chen Guangcheng becomes China's public enemy #1. In 2005, the party sends 70 men to surround Chen's village, trapping him under house arrest. Chen escapes to Shanghai, then Beijing, sparking a nationwide manhunt. They catch up to him in Beijing. They drag him back to his village and lock him away again. Year after year passes, and Chen remains a prisoner in his own home. The guards watch him every hour of every day. When the thugs beat his elderly mother, Chen's rage burns. He wants to kill them. The party's message is clear. They will punish anyone close to Chen. Then, in 2006, Chen finds a way to show the world what is happening. He smuggles out a video on a flash drive. The party's response is brutal. Thugs storm his home, beating his wife until they break her eye socket. They choke and beat Chen for 3 hours straight. They throw Chen into a black jail, a secret prison that exists outside China's legal system. Even Chinese law says these prisons are illegal. His captors break his ribs with beatings. He is crammed into a tiny room with 3 other inmates, never allowed to go outside. Guards starve him and won't let him sleep. They pay other prisoners to attack him. But the party learns something. They cannot defeat a man who has spent his whole life overcoming obstacles. From his cell, Chen hears shortwave radio reports about his case. Each broadcast gives him strength to continue. His mission is no longer about justice. It's about showing the world the true face of China's rulers. In 2010, they released Chen from prison, but only to trap him again. Communist Party thugs surround his house day and night. They cut off his phone, his internet, all contact with the outside world. Chen is sure they will never let him go. But his captors make one critical mistake. They see only a helpless blind man. But Chen has spent his life proving everyone wrong about what a blind person can do. Now, he will try the impossible. He will escape. In the dead of night, Chen slips through his back door. He crawls on hands and knees, feeling his way past 9 rings of guards. When he reaches a wall, he falls, breaking 3 bones in his foot. But he keeps going. Chen has learned to see with his other senses. The rain becomes his guide. Listening to drops hitting different surfaces, Chen navigates forward. For 20 hours, he pushes through pain, climbing 8 walls, swimming across a river, walking 12 miles on a broken foot. Finally, he reaches a friend in a nearby village. From his friend's house, Chen makes the call that will change everything. He contacts the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. American officials are stunned. No one has ever escaped this kind of surveillance before. They call Kurt Campbell. He has always played it safe with China, but now he must choose. Help Chen and risk everything, or let him die. Chen and his friend begin a desperate drive to Beijing. They race through the night while Communist Party guards search the countryside, hunting for their escaped prisoner. Miraculously, they make it to the U.S. Embassy, setting off a round of intense negotiations on Chen's status. The stakes could not be higher. China warns America to stay quiet and send Chen back. Campbell, who had always tried to keep the peace with China, now stands for Chen. As news spreads across the world and pressure builds, China starts to worry. Finally, they strike a deal. Chen can go to America as a student. China saves face, and Chen is finally free. Chen flies to the U.S., where he gets a job teaching law at Catholic University in Washington, D.C. In New York, Christian Bale, the movie star who once tried to visit him, presents him with the Human Rights First Award. The real-life superhero has become Batman's hero. In 2020, he stands before the Republican National Convention to tell his story to millions. The blind boy who refused to be hidden away has become a global voice for justice. One man, armed only with courage and law books memorized in the dark, stood up to the mighty Chinese Communist Party and won. China would face the consequences of its brutal policy. In 2015, they desperately end the one-child rule, allowing 2 children. By 2021, they begged families to have 3, but it's too late. By 2050, China will lose half its workforce. 1 in 3 Chinese will be over 65. Nursing homes will overwhelm schools. The world's largest economy will grow old before it grows rich. The price of decades of forced abortions and broken families. If you enjoy inspirational stories of courageous men and women risking their lives for freedom, you will love the incredible journey of Chen Guangcheng. And subscribe for more tales from the global fight for freedom.